Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pre-exhaustion, but in a different way, okay? Because everybody pre-exhausts with an isolation exercise. So they may do flies before they do bench presses, or they may do some sort of tricep kickback before they do close grip. You get the point, right? They're doing an isolation exercise before they're actually doing a compound. Now, what I'm going to say is there is also another step to this altogether, and this is going to be like, man, that guy's loud. The cow is so loud back there. He's so funny. Just pissed right off he can't be in the video. I don't understand it. I could see your ears. Yeah, I can see you over there. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's got something to say. Probably wants some of my latte, and he's like, hey, why not espresso shots for the cows, huh? Why not, right? So yeah, my concept is this, and it's something that I just did today in the garage for fun. And that's usually what my videos are about, is stuff that I'm doing in my training or have done. But what I found is that there are certain times that isolation exercises may not work for you when you're doing even the strategic range to a point, right? Or maybe you have an injury like I do, like the shoulder sits differently in the joint than it should. And there are certain extenuating circumstances, maybe genetically, why you are not able to isolate a muscle very easily. But you notice that if you're doing super short ranges in a certain part of the exercise, like say an isolation, but a certain strategic range in that isolation, you may be able to pre-exhaust the major muscle group that you want to hit before going into the full range movement or fuller range. So case in point, I have trouble sometimes activating my bicep, especially my left one, because that was a partial tear before. And I noticed that my forearms take over a lot. A lot of my brachioradialis and brachialis and stuff take over, not my biceps brachii in some cases. Because of the shoulder thing and also because of the bicep tear. So long story short, the bicep tear happened from a really shitty chiropractor about 20 something years ago. Okay, that's how long we're going back. So to this day, I have to cater my training a certain way. So it still works, whatever, but the bottom line is that it does change the activation, right? So what I'm going to say is, during my bicep training, sometimes I find if I'm doing fuller range movements, I include the forearm. Sometimes I'm including some of my rotator cuff to stabilize the shoulder once my arm is extended. There's a lot of reasons for this, and it may be also happening with you, but the bottom line, that is what is happening. It's not about what should happen. It's never about what should happen. It's more about what is happening, right? I find there's a big battle with that on the internet. People think, oh no, that shouldn't happen, or this shouldn't. No. What is happening? That's what you got to embrace and then respond to that. That's the most important thing. So what I found is, if I do short ranges at the top range of the bicep with really lightweight, say it's with the barbell or even with the dumbbell, but I'm doing the upper part of the 21s, and I hit exhaustion with that for several sets, then when I go into the fuller range of the motion, then I am ensuring that my bicep brachii is hitting failure, not my forearms. Whereas if I start the set with full range or fuller range, I notice that I get a little bit of a combination of both. So what I'm doing with this pre-exhaustion technique is that I'm forcing myself to isolate a muscle which has a tendency to stay in the background a bit, especially for myself. Now you could do this when it comes down to triceps. So say you're doing dips, right? And you're noticing when you're coming down really far in dips, you're noticing you're getting a lot of pec, maybe a lot of front delt. Maybe you want to isolate on the top range of that motion. When you're doing dips, even though dips are a compound. I know it's not necessarily an isolation, but just isolating a certain mini range of motion and then going into the fuller range, you're applying two things. One is the pre-exhaustion principle on a certain muscle group you want to hit. Number two is this, and this is genius. It's like combining two techniques. It's the pump and stretch principle, right? Because once you pre-exhaust a muscle with a super type of contraction type exercise, making sure that you're only contracting that muscle as much as possible and leaving out as many other muscles as possible, and then you go into more of a stretching type movement, you are really applying a version of the pump and stretch principle, and therefore getting some better results in that area. Mountain, as you can tell. It's so obvious, right? The cows agree. So yeah, don't feel bad if you play around with your isolation movements, and sometimes you find when you use mini ranges in the isolation before you do the full range, you may be ensuring that you are isolating the muscle that you are having trouble activating. Now, if your muscle's activating the way you want it to, there's no reason to do this if you don't want to, unless it's just an experiment or some way of playing around with the weight. But always I find people have certain trouble areas or certain areas they find are very difficult to activate. And this could be one way that you could overcome this sort of plateau. Cow's really got quiet right now. I don't know what happened. I think the bull was satisfied. I think he was just looking for some fitness tips. Now he's kind of just quieted right down. He's like, oh, thanks, man. I want to know how to isolate my horns. I don't know what kind of exercise he'd use for that, but yeah, maybe I helped him out. Another subscriber served on Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. Mountain. So yeah, anyway, I hope this helps out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and to tune into my Rumble channel. And if you're not on Patreon, I will see you there as well. Mountain. So thanks a lot to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. I'm going to go talk to a cow. Natural Gallant.